All right, let's do our very first project. The first thing we'll start with is just a star. And to make my star, I am going to take a sphere and pound it out into a slab. Until it's actually a little bit thicker than finger thick or cookie thick, because I want to be able to add a texture to it. So now that I've got it mostly pounded out, I'm going to pick it up and lay down something for texture. I'm going to start with this doily here that has a grid shape like that. And I will set my clay on it and continue to pound it out until it gets to about cookie thick. That's going to leave a really nice imprint on the other side. I want to point out here, see the cracks that are happening in my clay? That tends to happen when the clay starts to get just a little bit dried out, and it's super easy to fix with just a tiny bit of slip. And that's all that it needs. Like so. Let me reveal to you the lovely texture that was left on that clay. Texture is one of the elements of art that we have been talking about for a couple of weeks in our class. It is how something feels. Texture could be an implied texture, like the wood grain that is on this table. So it's two-dimensional, it's flat. If you touch it, it just feels smooth. But the lines that are used make it look like there's a kind of texture. This is a more realistic 3D style texture because you could actually feel it. All right, next up for making my star, there's a couple things I could do. The first thing I could do is I could take a star template and place it on top and then carve around it. And that will leave me with a star. Another option would be to take my skewer and to draw 5 triangles that I connect. And I think that's the one that I'm going to use this time. So I am going to stand up over my clay so I can see it really well, and using my skewer that I want vertical. So I don't want it laying down like this. I don't want to be carving like this. I want it up and down so that my point is straight. And I am going to drag it towards me. It's much easier if you drag towards you. And I'm going to make a triangle. Then I will rotate my paper and my clay and make another triangle that joins that first one. Then I can take that little part away because I don't need it anymore. I'm going to turn my paper again and make another triangle. Remove my extra chunk of clay there. Rotate my paper again. Make another triangle. So now I've got, let's see, 4 triangles. I'm going to turn it my last time and make my last triangle. And pull apart those extra pieces. And I'm going to move the camera so you could see what this looks like. There you go. Notice there are a bunch of, I call them clay boogers. There's a bunch of little clay boogers that are sticking up all around the edges. And I'm going to show you how to fix that. And you want to fix that because when that dries, although it's not sharp right now, when it dries, it is going to be sharp and it's not going to feel good if you catch your finger on that. And it's super easy to fix. You're just going to take a little bit of your slip on your finger and then come around the edges to smooth those pieces out. I'll make sure that some little balls might even fall off, and that's okay. You could just add it to your extra leftover clay. that is your basic star shape. If you would like to keep this project, go ahead and set it aside. Let it dry for 2 weeks. The reason we want it to dry for 2 weeks is because we need it to be really, really dry. If there's a tiny molecule of water, we're talking tiny, a little bit of water that is still trapped inside the clay and it hasn't fully dried, and then you stick it in the kiln, it will, as the kiln heats up, it'll start vibrating, and then it can vibrate so fast and so hard because it gets so incredibly hot inside a kiln that it could shatter your project, and that would be a super bummer. So make sure you let it dry for 2 full weeks. If you're interested, after you've taken all of your little boogers off, I've only done half of mine, as you could see, you could use your skewer to maybe stick a hole through it, all the way through it, and that would allow you to string something through there if you wanted to use it as an ornament. Or once it was all dried, and after you have it decorated, you could also take a really big magnet and place it here. Although this is a little bit thick and it probably wouldn't hold up very well unless you had a super strong magnet. And there's also the chance that if it falls, it would break. Because although this is really pliable right now, it's not dried. And once it's dried, it'll be really hard and also fragile. But those are some ideas to think about. So the first thing, just to play with and get used to working with pottery a little bit, or clay rather, is to try making a star. Let me know how it goes.